See, look, I didn't fall off this time, I've improved. Talk about polarization, huh? But before we get into that, let's review a bit. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater died a brutal death in 2015 with the release of Pro Skater 5. The game was horrible and did horribly, and by then, the original developer behind the older and good entries, Neversoft, had been dissolved into Activision. And the final nail in the coffin, Activision's license to use the Tony Hawk name expired in 2015. Bleak for sure, but you know the story by now. 2020, the Tony Hawk series rose from the ashes with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, a full remake of the first two Pro Skater games, headed by Vicarious Visions, a studio who had previously done PS1 and GBA ports of the Tony Hawk games. And not only did the game do well, it was freaking fantastic. The gameplay was superb, the graphics were beautiful, the soundtrack was sublime in more ways than one. It was the perfect return to form. Since the 1 and 2 remake was so good, the common consensus was that the next logical step was a full remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. Tony Hawk 3 is a fantastic continuation of 2, and is my personal favorite entry in the series. The levels are particularly cool in this one. It's a fucking cruise ship, man, that's awesome. Tony Hawk 4 is a bit unique in that it ditched the 2 minutes to complete as many missions as possible format in favor of open-ended levels with individual missions that could be more unique, and otherwise wouldn't work in a 2-minute time limit. Both are fantastic games in their own right, but are definitely different experiences. Regardless, I'm looking forward to what the remake holds. Okay. In 2021, Vicarious Visions dropped its name and fully merged with Activision Blizzard as a support dev team. Obviously that sucks for any hope of original projects, including ones that were already in development, such as the remake of 3+4, which was actively being developed prior to the merge. And once again, the Tony Hawk series went dark, not including 1+2 being released on Steam by Iron Galaxy Studios. Who are they? Surely they won't be important later. But fast forward to September 12th, 2024, Mythical Kitchen uploads a video on YouTube titled Tony Hawk Eats His Last Meal as he was on death row and was executed shortly after. Around the 25-minute mark, in response to what's next for the Tony Hawk series, as its 25th anniversary was approaching, Tony said this.
Pro Skater, what's next for the franchise?
I wish I could tell you more, but I can't tell you that I have been talking to Activision again, which is insanely exciting.
Get out of town. The boys are back.
We're working on something.
He makes it sound like he's rekindling an old fire with an X. That's right, spontaneously, on a YouTube talk show, Tony Hawk straight up revealed, yeah, something's coming, be ready. And a few weeks later on his Instagram, he reconfirmed, there will be a future. Holy shit. February 2025, big things were happening. Pro skater Tyshawn Jones, who had previously appeared in the Tony Hawk games, made an appearance on the radio show The Breakfast Club, and again, casually, though this time unprompted.
I'm in a Tony Hawk coming out, so that's cool. They got a new one they remastering, so that's about to come out. I was in the last one.
Okay, yep, no, it's happening. It's actually happening. I never thought I'd see the day. That wasn't even the end of it. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has a map called Grind, which is a skate park with a skate shop. If you went into the skate shop starting around late February, you could see a TV hanging on the wall displaying a logo similar to the Tony Hawk 1+2 logo and the date 3/4/2025. And Tony started replying to tweets about it with the glancing eyes emoji. Guys, February 25th, a rating for a new game on PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series, PS4, PS5, and Nintendo Switch appears on Singapore's game ratings board, and it's called Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. I'm not upset because it was pretty obvious, but way to ruin the surprise, guys. From there, the marketing team went all out with hyping up the 4th of March. They had billboards and advertisements on the side of buses around the world. They were serious. The Tony Hawk's Pro Skater website updated to a countdown to March 4th, and I was eagerly waiting for that countdown to hit 0. When it did, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, July 11th, 2025. Mark your calendars, punks. Obviously, Vicarious Visions couldn't return to develop this one. In its place, developer Iron Galaxy stepped up to the plate. Oh look, they were important. They mostly operate as a porting and support studio. They helped bring Skyrim and Overwatch to the Switch, the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection to PC, and they even helped Retro Studios with Metroid Prime Remastered. They do have a handful of original titles to their name though, such as the Killer Instinct reboot. They were the ones who brought 1+2 to Steam though, so on a technicality, they do have some experience with the games. At this point, the website had been updated to fully feature news about the game, so I figured I would check it out to see what info I could glean from it. There wasn't a ton of unique information on the website, but it was nice to see the confirmation of Create Park and Create Skater returning alongside streamlined goals in a 2-minute format. Wait. No. They didn't. No. There's no way they did it, right? No, it's impossible. No. The language of that varied based on the source, so it was kind of hard to tell what was really the case, but as it would seem, the open-ended Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 career had been replaced with the 2-minute format, and eventually, through a confirmation between Kotaku and Activision, we knew that for a fact. The whole point of Pro Skater 4 is its open-ended nature. It's literally on the back of the box. Considering we have 10 missions per level with the 2-minute format, and the Pro Skater 4 levels up to 21 missions each, we're seeing a significant amount of content cut. Okay, yes, it's actually 15 missions per level because of the added New Game Plus, but I'll get to that. Plus, how on earth would they make the more unique missions work in the 2-minute format? You just can't make Escape from Alcatraz, the Luge Challenge, or the many pro-specific challenges work in that format. Listen, I'm not saying all the goals in Thieves 4 were winners. I played through all 190, I would know. For every tour of Alcatraz, there's a snake run slalom. For every Dunk 30 tourist, there's a transfer over Elephant Rock. But I mean, come on, some of these challenges are so fun, especially the skater-specific ones. Them being cut is a huge loss to the identity of Tony Hawk 4. Everything you love is back. Oh, is it? Is it really? How about Chad Muska's pro-specific challenge? I love that one. Why isn't it back, huh? That's not even all. We have confirmation of 16 returning levels, alongside 3 new ones. So let's do some math. Pro Skater 3, we have Foundry, Canada, Rio, Suburbia, Airport, Skater Island, Los Angeles, Tokyo, and Cruise Ship. That's 9. Pro Skater 4, we have College, San Francisco, Alcatraz, Kona, Shipyard, London, Zoo, Carnival, and Chicago. 9 again. Put them together and you get 18, which means 2 levels are getting cut. The levels in question being Carnival and Chicago, which were treated as bonus levels in Tony Hawk 4, though they still had their own goals. I understand Chicago being cut. It's a map pulled directly from Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2 put in Pro Skater 4 to promote it. But Carnival is wholly unique to Pro Skater 4, it should 100% be here. And you claim everything you love is back? We're also missing Oil Rig, which was a level exclusive to the Xbox version of Tony Hawk 3. Granted, 1+2 was also missing the Hoffman Bike Factory, exclusive to the N64 version of Tony Hawk 2. But that level was essentially just a bunch of quarter pipes. It looked like it was made in a crate park. Plus, like Chicago, it was just an ad for another game. Oil Rig was a fully featured level. It's far from a fantastic map, but the remake would have been a good chance to rectify its flaws. You have no right to say that this game includes everything from the original I love, rebuilt from the ground up when you're cutting the main thing that made the game you're remaking so unique alongside levels. This attracted significant controversy. People were calling for boycotts of the game because, as we know, gamers always lead successful boycotts, and there was disappointment across the board, me very much included. I mean, I was still excited for the game. Again, Pro Skater 3 is my favorite entry in the series, and we would at least be getting a solid remake of that, but this sucks. There's no way around it. And then, you know what really grinds my gears? In April, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater social media accounts made posts saying, "Who said there's no career?" The post had a video attached which showed a few goals taking place on the Thieves 4 maps. Some of them were returning from Tony Hawk 4, like saving Painter Neil and the frat goal. Some seemed to be original, and some were generic goals in every level, like the skate letters and secret tape. Okay, fine, cool. The video isn't what I have a problem with, it's what they wrote above it. Yeah, no one said there was no career. The reason everyone was being critical was because you replaced the original career with one that many would consider inferior to the original. I think it's best explained by streamer and former dev who worked on the original games as well as the 1+2 remake and ETHPS.
So this is what bothers me. In the post with the video, there's a caption that says, "Who said there's no career?" Smirking face. It's like, no, none of us said there's no career. You are making Tony 4's career in the 2-minute format, and we are upset about that. So it feels like directly trying to twist and spin our words and almost like gaslighting us into like thinking that we thought there was no career at all for Tony 4, but it's ridiculous. No.
According to interviews with 3+4 devs, the reason the career mode for 4 was significantly changed was to, quote, create the ultimate package of 3+4. Then wouldn't the ultimate package have accurate representations of both games? Also, we're doing this. By buying the digital deluxe version of the game, you get access 3 days early. Why? I don't understand why companies do this. What's the point? That's a stupid question. You also get Doomslayer and Revenant as playable skaters, which is awesome and really fucking stupid. Every Tony Hawk game features secret skaters, most of which you unlock for beating the game, or beating the game Again, Tony Hawk 2 had Spider-Man, Tony Hawk 3 had Wolverine and Darth Maul, 4 had Jango Fett, Underground 2 had Shrek. And you know what the best part was? You didn't have to pay for them. You earned them through natural game progression. Nope, you gotta pay for your Secret Skaters now. And you know what makes this even worse? In the PC version of Pro Skater 3, Doomslayer was already a playable skater. Again, for free. By the way, this problem isn't exclusive to 3+4. 1+2 had the same problem. The Digital Deluxe version had exclusive skaters. It wasn't cool there, and it isn't cool here. I want to talk a bit about this box art, yet another element that attracted a bit of criticism. I'm mixed on it. It's kind of really weird that they chose to use the new water park level for the box art instead of one from the original. The whole point of the game is that it's a remake. Why wouldn't you show that on the box? I do think the shot of the water park looks really nice. It's a bit jarring that almost half the image is just blue though. There's too much empty space. For comparison, here's the 1+2 key art with Warehouse. It's actually got a lot less going on the ground, but because of the more very top half, it feels less empty. Tony looks like he's about to cry. There's also the matter of the soundtrack. You can't have a good Tony Hawk game without a great soundtrack. Even 5's was at least passable. And 3 and 4 have some of the best in the series. When 1+2 were remade, nearly the entire soundtracks from both games returned alongside a slew of new songs. Guess what happened with 3+4? They announced what songs were going to be in the game through 3 waves, and less than a quarter of them were returning tracks. Cool. I mean, I'm not going to downplay what did come back. Ace of Spades, Not the Same, 96 Quite Bitter Beings, The Boy Who Destroyed the World, all great tracks, some of the best from their respective games. Okay, all the ones I just listed are from 3. But where's Cut Chemist Suite, Blitzkrieg Bop, Spokesman, Express Yourself, Wish, TNT, the main theme of Tony Hawk 4? I understand that licensing can be expensive, especially when you take bands like AC/DC and Ramones into account, but surely we could have gotten rid of some of the new songs in place of the old songs. And how about those new ones? Some of them are pretty good. Kick Push by Lupe Fiasco makes all the sense in the world to be here and is a pretty good song in its own right. Everything Turns Gray sounds like a song that would be in Pro Skater 4. A decent handful though, nah. Like, I straight up did not enjoy them. Siren Song, Identity, Hollywood Baby. Yeah, not into these, sorry. 100 Gex, what the f are you talking about? They only made 3. Also, it feels really weird to have Ultimate by Denzel Curry on the track list since it was a meme years ago. It feels kinda out of place. But what makes this even worse is that the soundtrack being the way it is wasn't due to licensing issues. The soundtrack changes were a specific request of Tony Hawk so that people would discover new bands. But you don't have to replace nearly every band to do that. You can do what 1+2 did and have new ones alongside the old ones instead of almost entirely new ones. Come on. I'm not opposed to the idea of mixing new tracks with old ones at all. Again, 1+2 did that to varying degrees of success. I liked some of the new ones they introduced in that game, but the old songs should have been prioritized. And they were when 1+2 was being developed. Again, I know I sound like a broken record. They only cut 3 songs out of 25 total from Pro Skater 1 and 2. In 3+4, a grand total of 10 songs are coming back. 6 from 3 and 4 from 4. 14 songs from 3 have been cut, and get this, 31 from 4. Now let's do some math here. That means only 30% of Pro Skater 3's soundtrack is coming back, 11% of Pro Skater 4's soundtrack is coming back, and in total, only 18% of the total soundtrack is returning and 32% has been cut. What the fuck? It's like they're trying to appeal to an audience that's like, in reality, a very small portion of the actual audience. I feel like most people playing this game are already Tony Hawk fans who played the originals. Maybe. I don't know. I don't care. Where the f*** is Spokesman? In May, there were a couple of preview events for 3+4 where the press got to come in and try out the game. Side note, I watched some of the direct feed footage from news outlets that got to play the game, and listen, I know not everyone knows exactly how to play every game, but it was absolutely painful to watch some of the footage here. Following the gameplay sessions, there were a couple of interviews with people who had leading positions on the game. Prior to seeing these interviews, my thought process was this. Okay, what we've seen so far looks great, but the shortcomings we've seen suck. But I'm guessing they came from perhaps a too low budget, rather than Iron Galaxy themselves misdirecting the game. I wasn't so sure about that after seeing these interviews though. I really want to believe that the main people behind this project have nothing but love and admiration for the Tony Hawk series and legitimately put their all into this game. To an extent, I still think that's true. But after watching these interviews, it is painfully obvious to me that these people do not know nearly enough about the source material to make a good remake. And that is clearly made evident by Andy THPS's interview with director Kurt Tillmans. This was just heartbreaking. There is a stretch in this video where Tillmans just confirms that one feature after another would not be in the game. No text chat, no collision-based game modes like King of the Hill, which originated in Pro Skater 3, no gaps in Creative Park, no server browsing. But the absolute worst part of this interview is when Andy asks if the set custom restart feature from Tony Hawk 4 would be returning. For those not in the know, set custom restart lets you mark a position on the map as a starting point. When in Freeskate, you can warp to that point at any time from the pause menu. Very useful for getting gaps, cache icons, and starting combos. Similar features exist in more realistic skating sims like EA's skate games. This feature did not return in 1+2. So Andy asks him about this, and when he does, Kurt is just like completely baffled. He has absolutely no idea what he's being asked about. Dude, this is a feature that appears nearly every time you pause the game in 4, and you, one of the leads on the project, have never heard of it? Huh? I literally facepalmed upon hearing this. I don't facepalm for nothing.
Come from mostly playing Pro Skater 3.
Yeah, I can tell. We learned a little more about how the project was conceived in this interview. Basically, it seems Activision came to IG instead of the other way around. In other words, they commissioned them. Remember that IG had almost no prior experience with THPS at the time. Vicarious Visions had plenty of experience with Tony Hawk. They developed the PS1 port of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, as well as the many GBA ports of the games. Speaking of the PS1 port of Pro Skater 4, you know what it had? Individual missions and open-ended levels. Actually, scratch that. The GBA version had individual missions. The GBA version! They didn't even need 3 dimensions to do it. I would have gone to Treyarch over Iron Galaxy. They made Pro Skater 2X, a remake of Pro Skater 1 and 2 for the original Xbox, and it's actually pretty damn good. Yes, there are 3 remakes of the first 2 Pro Skaters, and I do not know why. Almost forgot that this is the whole point.
Almost forgot that the whole point of Pro Skater 4 is...
Some of the interviews were explaining the changes made to the Thieves 4 career, citing that combining the 2 different gameplay styles was hard. What the hell are you talking about? Is it really that weird for people that the Tony Hawk 3 and Tony Hawk 4 careers would be different in-game? Like, they just could not handle that for one of the careers they would be doing 2-minute goals, and for the other they would be open-ended levels? Is it really that jarring? They're literally separate on the menu. If Iron Galaxy had introduced the 2-minute format to the Tony Hawk 4 levels in addition to the original career, sort of like Classic Mode and Underground 2, I would have been more than happy with that. That way you have that synergy between the 2 campaigns for newer players, while also providing older ones with the classic campaign they remember. Listen, I understand that budget or time concerns probably limited Iron Galaxy in what they could do. Maybe they did want to bring back the full career mode, but just weren't able to. I don't entirely blame the decision on complete incompetence. I'm still pissed though. Okay, we're how long into the video now, and I still haven't gotten to reviewing the contents of the game at hand. I should do that. 1 minute into the game, I'm already pissed off. I'll start positive though. I think Kick Push was a great pick for the title screen. It's about skateboarding. What a coincidence. But what I don't like about the title screen is this FMV. It's these animations. Here's the thing, the animations, for the most part at least in Tony Hawk games, are pretty rapid and not super smooth in order to fit the gameplay flow. Vicarious Visions knew this when they were making the 1+2 title screen, so they made custom realistic skating animations just for the FMV, since the camera follows closely to the board in it. So guess what they did for 3+4? These are in-game animations. This looks terrible. Look at this kickflip, that's not right. Look at this ollie to grind, he jumps like a full 5 feet in the air. They had a tendency to show the animations up close in a lot of marketing material, almost like they were marketing the game as a realistic skate sim. Look at 3 seconds of Tony Hawk footage and tell me if it is. A new feature in 3+4 is streamer-friendly music, which gives you some copyright-free original music to listen to during the game, courtesy of Logan Byers. If you don't know who Logan Byers is, that makes 2. Okay, it turns out he was nominated for an Emmy and won a Golden Reel. I'm sorry, Logan. None of the royalty-free music is particularly earth-shattering, but is pretty good. I was gonna comment on how weird it was that this is the first Tony Hawk game to have an original soundtrack. And then I realized nearly all the handheld entries have original soundtracks. There are a total of 31 Pro Skaters to choose from in 3+4, a record high for the series. So of course, instead of playing as one of them, I'm going to make my own skater. Sorry, Nora. I remember when the website for 3+4 was made public, one thing stuck out to me, the promise of an expanded Create-A-Skater, a prospect that excited me. The Create-A-Skater in 1+2 was okay, but it left a lot to be desired. You couldn't customize the proportions of your skater, the funny options from the originals weren't there, and you couldn't even have glasses. So the idea that these options could be there in 3+4 was promising. Yeah, keep dreaming, motherfucker. Once again, we have almost none of this. Create-A-Skater is nearly exactly how it was in 1+2. As humans, we've put a man on the moon. We've built cities housing millions. We've developed medicine to an unbelievable extent. And yet in the year of our Lord and Savior 2025, we can't have glasses in our character creator. Why? You have a skater in the game with sunglasses. Surely it couldn't have taken that much work to make that part of a Create-A-Skater. You know what, Iron Galaxy? Yeah, I do have a question and or comment. The one thing this Create-A-Skater improves over the 1+2 iteration is that there are a good handful of funny or interesting options, most of which you unlock for completing challenges, giving you more incentive to complete them. You can wear space, but it's not enough to save it. I can't get over the fact we don't have glasses of all things. So many people have glasses. So many people want to show that trait in their avatars. It just feels stupid not to have the option here. None of the other issues with Create-A-Skater have been resolved either. You can't scale your skater, you can't even pick a body type, which should 100% be possible. There are clearly different body models in the game, made obvious by skaters like Chloe Covell. The hair options are exactly the same as they were in 1+2, which were already pretty lackluster, as are the actual faces. And there's still stuff where it's like, why can I customize the colors of this hoodie but not this shirt? I'm sick of whining. There is a lot of good stuff about this game, so I'm ready to start talking about it. For one, there's the game's new UI. It's a lot more stylized than 1+2's was. Some of the fonts they use remind me of the fonts you would see in something like Pro Skater 3. I like the sketchy lines they use as well, very skateboarding. I also like that they put the main menu in a skate shop again, just like in Pro Skater 3. Looks like the type that would have good air conditioning. You know what's gorgeous? You. Learn to love yourself, you deserve it. You know what else is gorgeous? This game. Naturally, it's the same art style as 1+2, which is pretty much just photorealism. Everything is really detailed. Each level clearly had a ton of work put into them to revitalize them with modern graphics. New elements have been added to levels to spice them up, too, like in college. They added this big balloon and confetti poppers everywhere. Some levels got some really beautiful changes in time of day as well, like Rio. The sunset really complements the view from the street. Having a sunnier day in Shipyard makes it much more pleasant to look at as well. Airport being set at night makes the amount of people walking around make a lot more sense too. I'm really happy with how the levels turned out. With one exception I'll get to later. I saw it pointed out a couple of times that nearly every level has puddles all over the ground, which is a common trend in modern games, including 1+2, because ooh, look, we can do cool reflections now. Levels like London, obviously puddles make sense here, it's raining. Canada, there's snow on the ground, so obviously any puddles would come from it melting, but what about college? It's a beautiful day, why is the ground so wet? Nice clear sunset in Rio, yet there are puddles everywhere. Pretty evening in San Francisco, wet ass floor. I don't care much about these, the levels are all still beautiful, I'm more so just confused. I found it hard to believe that it was raining the day before we skated in every one of these levels. So one of my favorite things that came from Pro Skater 3 was the addition of pedestrians to each level. They make them feel a lot more alive. Like, imagine college if it was dead empty. Ignore the fact that it is empty when you play it in single session mode. And although we don't go up to NPCs to start missions like in the original version of 4, we still see many of them up close in certain missions. They all look fine for the most part. I mean, they're just people, not much to say. I more so have a problem with how they're animated. Look at this guy in Foundry. Why is he animated so stiffly? He moves like he's still on the PS2. Those stiff animations worked on the PS2 because the game looked like that. But when the game looks much more realistic, this just looks wrong. How about the Thin Man in Suburbia? First of all, hashtag not my Thin Man. Secondly, what is going on here?
Little pigs, I'll blow your house down.
Are you kidding me? Was animating lip sync for this guy really not in the budget? You have facial animations in the game. We see them in almost all the cutscenes. I would have animated that. I would have done it for free. Hit me up, Iron Galaxy. We can push it out in an update. Look at this guy in San Francisco. Why is he animated like that? It looks wrong. You know how I said the NPCs look good for the most part? Here's Eric Sparrow cameoing from Tony Hawk's Underground. That's not Eric Sparrow, that's Edwin Sandpiper! Despite my issues with some of the animations and this, I'm still very happy to have people walking around the parks again. While the maps in 1+2 looked really good, they definitely felt a bit empty. And while it was charming how they used the then current pandemic to explain why they were so empty, a level like Streets feels kinda strange to have absolutely no one on the sidewalks with. One NPC stands out above the rest, Felipe Nunes, our real-world pro skater. Despite being a double amputee, he still shreds like there's no tomorrow with some really inspiring stuff. Nunes appears on the multiple Impress the Pro Skaters goals, where he has his own cutscene. It's really awesome that they included him as a representation for athletes with physical disabilities. It is unfortunate that he isn't a playable skater. I understand that would have meant reanimating every trick in the game to fit his unique rig, but even having a more limited moveset would have been cool. Regardless, the fact that he's here is some really neat stuff. I would recommend checking out this documentary on his life and skating journey. I'll link it below. On the topic of skaters in the game, there are a couple of unique secret ones I want to mention, one of which is Michelangelo of TMNT fame. Those who watched my Pro Skater 5 video may recall that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were also playable in that game. I'm happy the Turtles got another chance in Tony Hawk, now being playable in a good game instead of... yeah. Actually, I say Turtles, plural, but it's actually only Mikey that's here. There aren't any alternate costumes for the others like in 5. Kinda sad, but alright. Also, his appearance is based on that of Mutant Mayhem, that movie from 2 years ago, rather than the more comic-style design from Pro Skater 5. Speaking of which, it turns out that that model was pulled from another game, Mutants in Manhattan, and was not original to THPS 5 as I originally thought. You are bleeding credibility. I still prefer that design over this one, but I'm still really into this one. I love the art style of Mutant Mayhem. I guess IG wanted to take this licensing deal with Nickelodeon to the max, since they also included a new secret SpongeBob-based section in Skater Island. It's a fun nod, but it lasts for like 3 seconds and SpongeBob isn't a playable skater. Ah well. There's also Birdman as an unlockable secret skater based on the Birdhouse skate brand. This design is raw as f***. I'm really glad he was included. He has some cool special tricks as well. Levels. Unfortunately, once again, Carnival and Chicago have been removed, so we don't get to see what they would look like. That sucks, but in their place, we have 3 new parks. Okay, first of all, don't get me wrong, I am thrilled to finally have some new Tony Hawk maps. The last ones were from Pro Skater 5 in 2015. The last ones were from Tony Hawk's Proving Ground in 2007. But as cool as it is to finally have some decent maps again, I can't deny that I really feel that the return of at least Carnival should have been prioritized over these new maps. Surely that could have been easier on the budget. Apparently, once again, this was to, quote, make the ultimate package of 3 and 4. That doesn't make any sense. What the hell are you talking about? They didn't cut Chop or Drop from 1+2 to make the ultimate package of both games. I'm not as upset that Chicago didn't come back. Again, it was just there to promote another game and isn't the best level to begin with. At the end of the day, I am happy we got some new maps though. Want to hear my opinions on them? Too bad, here we go. We got 3 new maps here, Water Park, Pinball, and Movie Studio. Water Park was the map that was most prominently featured in advertising. They showed it at the end of the reveal trailer and again on the box itself. So surely the map is good enough to be featured as heavily as it was. I mean, I think it's pretty good. It's far from the best map in the game, very far. There are a lot of parts that feel way too cluttered, meaning it's very easy to hit a wall during a combo. But there are a lot of great opportunities for combos here, multiple teleporters that bring you to the top of a slide, many of which functioning as long stretches of vert ramp. There's a lazy river that serves as a half pipe with bridges and pipes going over it that work as grind rails. The theming here is really good. I'm kind of shocked an abandoned water park was never used as a level theme before this. Like I mentioned, it is a bit cluttered throughout the map. I agree with the sentiment shared by some others that the size and complexity of Water Park would lend itself well to 4's original career format. Not the best map, but still a pretty fun time. While we're in Water Park, I would be remiss not to mention the Easter egg involving a knockoff Guitar Hero box being in the trash, clearly referencing Neversoft's work in the series. The box in question was also in 1+2, by the way. Apparently Iron Galaxy, quote, didn't know how this ended up here and removed it in an update. I really don't even think removing it was necessary. I guarantee those who worked at Neversoft would take this joke in good faith. And even then, if it was meant to be a joke at all, somebody could have just been reusing an asset from 1+2 as a decoration. Next up is Movie Studio, also a fun theme. This one is a competition level in the same vein as Rio or Skater Island from Tony Hawk 3. There aren't any specific goals and you're just trying to get as high of a score as possible to win a competition. This also means it's smaller than most other levels. This one is, I really don't have much to say about it. It's pretty cluttered, more so than Water Park. Some parts kind of feel like a Krita Park, to be honest. It's a fun theme, but I think it could have been done more elegantly. The most notable thing about it is that there's a secret sewer section, so this level can serve as Mikey's level. The last new map is Pinball, and you know, I gotta say, this one is good. I really, really like this one. First of all, the neon color scheme is awesome, and the metallic reflections all over the table in Pinball are really awesome. This is one of the best looking maps in the game. Second, a pinball table is such a fantastic idea for a Tony Hawk map, and like Water Park, I'm surprised this is the first time it's been done. Eat your heart out, Waluigi Pinball. Third, the map itself plays pretty darn well. It functions like a downhill level from Tony Hawk 1, and more specifically, how they were updated when they were remade in 1+2, where they put teleporters back to the beginning of the level at the end of them. So when you go through the hole at the bottom of the table, you get shot out at the beginning again. You're just like a pinball. They put some speed boost ramps at the beginning that let you get huge air off a ramp, and from there, you can grind down the metal carry ball thing, use the various bumpers to your advantage, and I really like this one, it's fun. I was worried that the pinball itself would get in the way a lot and kill your combo, but at least in my experience, it didn't really do that a lot, and it's usually avoidable when you see it. But the best part of the map by far? Large Tony. I'm not like one of those Tony Hawk players who can pick up a controller and... So maybe I shouldn't be the one to say how well you can combo off a map, but I think you can do some cool stuff with this one. Ranking the new maps, I would put Movie Studio on the bottom, Water Park in the middle, and Pinball right on top. I'd be interested to see what else Iron Galaxy could do. More on that later. So on the topic of the maps in the THPS4 career, just how is that career? Well, honestly, it's fine. Obviously, without question, I would have preferred them remake the original 4 career with proper individual goals, but this is fine. A good amount of the goals are directly ripped from the original career, mostly ones that would easily work in a 2-minute format. They do stretch it a bit with goals like sketching the professor's car, but for the most part, again, it works. It isn't without issue, of course. Pro Skater 4 is when the levels start to get a lot bigger to accommodate for the new playstyle. That makes it a lot harder to make the 2-minute format feel good to play, since everything ends up feeling too spread out or discoordinated. The map that I felt this the most with was Alcatraz. The 3 groups of tourists you have to photobomb are in like completely unrelated areas of the map, and it took me ages to find all 3 groups. I think the map that best adapted to the new format was College. The way the goals are laid out feels natural enough that you'll be able to complete the 10 base missions in 2 or so attempts, nicely ending with sketching the professor's car. Pro Skater 4 also had trick objects which could be enabled and disabled on the fly since certain goals required them. 3+4 naturally doesn't have this, and instead, select optional trick objects were included permanently in each level. Some of these make sense, like the skate park setup in San Francisco. Others make me question everything. So Pro Skater 4 had this goal in Alcatraz where you would launch off a loop-de-loop and onto a target on the water, trying to get a specific amount of points. The setup's pretty big and definitely gets in the way of moving through the area during a combo. That's why it's good you could disable it. And God knows why, Iron Galaxy felt it was necessary to make this a permanent addition to the level, for the sole purpose of launching off it one time to collect the Iron Galaxy logo. Why? You can't use this thing for a combo. You don't get points for going through the loop. Once you get the IG logo, this setup is completely pointless. It does nothing but get in the way. Why on earth did they think it was necessary to include this? You got 10 points, you're fucking lying to me. Of course, we need to have 3 competition levels alongside the regular levels, for some reason. We have Movie Studio, so that's 1, but for the other 2, sacrifices had to be made. The first victim is Kona, which is a very real skate park located in Jacksonville, Florida. No goals, just a competition, which for Kona is really unfortunate. The level is just too big for a competition like this. A lot of the parts also feel kind of empty and hard to combo through. Again, real skate park, they don't design those with Tony Hawk logic in mind. Some goals to fill in the empty parts would have been appreciated. It's just not the same without Mrs. Ramos. I miss you. The second victim, and this one pains me, is Zoo. Like Kona, this is a pretty big level, so having a competition here just feels kind of wrong. And having no goals is really unfortunate. Zoo had some pretty fun ones, like feeding the hippos and sketching the elephant while it shits on you. Good times. But f*** the elephants, hippos, lions, koalas, and bees, because the zoo is now abandoned. I guess Iron Galaxy really didn't feel like animating some animals, so they made the decision to turn the zoo into a closed down one with no animals. It's really boring and really sad. And also, if the zoo is closed, why is this fountain running? Why are all the lights on? Feels kinda contradictory to me. They also tease you all over the place with these Save Stompy the Elephant banners. They know you wish he was here. Keep wishing. Oh yeah, that's right, you can't. That song didn't come back for this game. Oh wait, I forgot. London has a goal called Save Stompy, where Stompy's being held in the van and you have to break him out. I'm hyped, these banners weren't for nothing, I'm ready to see some elephants.
We're free! Free Stompy!
Actually, while we're in London, I have to talk about Constable Richard. If you didn't know, Jack Black provided his likeness and voice to the character of Officer Dick for 1+2 in 2020, and does so once again in 3+4. And for 3+4, they created a British counterpart to Officer Dick called Constable Richard, also played by Jack Black. He has this super stupid and dramatic introductory cutscene, and I had this big stupid grin on my face the whole time. This is great. Steve's Lava Chicken, more like Richard's Magma Fish and Chips in it. I hate myself. Dick, your buddy. I'm good.
Down with Officer Harry!
Man, f*** you. But back to the career. I would be lying if I said the career mode was flat out bad. No, I was having fun most of the time, but it's just really disappointing that the original 4 career was cut. But putting aside the fact this isn't the original career, they actually do something pretty interesting with the 2-minute goal format in the form of New Game Plus. Once you complete all the goals in the Thieves 3 and Thieves 4 careers, you unlock Pro goals, 5 new goals for each level. Some of these are pretty standard and are shared across several levels. Platinum scores, collecting combo letters, impressing skaters, doing tricks over gaps, stuff like that. Others are more unique, like making birds attack some guys, listening to Ranger Ron's story, retrieving a stolen camera, and yes, getting back at Eric Sparrow. It's not. Each competition level also gets 1 goal to complete as well, in order for you to earn a platinum medal. Most are dead simple, involving you doing a trick over a gap or collecting some items, but a nice addition regardless. One of the things Thieves is best known for is its sense of humor. It leans into edgier and slapstick comedy with a good handle of innuendos. Tony Hawk's Underground 2 especially leaned heavily into a jackass style of humor. The edgier sense of humor started to shine through in Pro Skater 3. 1+2 had jokes, but they were mostly relegated to, his name is Officer Dick, because penis. Because of that, when 1+2 were remade, not much changed in terms of humor, but when it came to 3 and 4, I had a hunch a good number of things would be changed or removed. As an example, there's the car chase in Los Angeles. In the original Pro Skater 3 version, 2 police cars chased a van around the level, and one of the level goals was to block the car chase. Once you did, the driver fired out of the van at the police cars. The remake changes things up a bit. Instead of the white van, the police are chasing around an out-of-control self-driving car, and it talks.
Your destination is on the right.
Once you stop it, it doesn't whip out a gun and open fire on the police. That would have been pretty funny though, they should have done that. Okay, so this isn't really a big deal. It's purely aesthetic, but at the same time it does kind of cut out some of the edge the originals had going for them. According to an interview, they changed it to the self-driving car because the shooting wasn't something they wanted the game to tell. What do you mean? I can understand wanting to remove the firing, but erasing any trace of crime isn't really necessary. The game is rated T, not E. They also removed the guy pissing off the cliff in Canada. Censorship of the game isn't world-ending or anything, but it does strip the game of some of its identity. So, I'm playing 3+4 on PS4. No, I don't have a PS5 to call my own. I'm cheap. Realistically, I probably should have just gotten it on Steam, but I don't know, man, Tony Hawk just belongs on PlayStation. For the most part, 3+4 runs very smoothly on PS4. Skating feels good, and the main game runs at 60 FPS, only switching to 30 on menus and for goal cutscenes. But there were more than a few hiccups, most of which were pretty noticeable. Whenever you load into a level, it takes a few seconds for the game to find its footing, and it drops quite a few frames. It's usually okay after a few seconds, but that's not the only issue. I also noticed a bit of screen tearing. Again, largely when loading into a level, but sometimes long after it. 1+2 didn't have these problems on the same console, so I'm wondering why these are present for a game with about the same graphical fidelity. Most likely the game was more optimized for consoles like the PS5 and Xbox Series rather than the PS4. But man, if we can get a half decent Switch 1 port of the game, which is supposedly better than that console's port of 1+2, then surely we can fix screen tearing on the PS4 when that isn't an issue in its version of 1+2. I'll touch more on some similar issues later. There were also a few visual bugs in the levels themselves. The most noticeable was this one, which consistently happened in Los Angeles. If you couldn't suss it out, she's supposed to be driving a car. Mario Kart Wii intro looking ass. I'm not sure if that was a glitch on any other platforms or just on PS4, but I haven't seen anyone else mention it, so I don't know. Actually, about the cutscene I just talked about, 3+4 is a lot of them, many of which are newly made for the remake and aren't sourced from the original games. I can tell Iron Galaxy put a lot into these. They're framed well and often are pretty funny. The whole car on bridge earthquake thing wasn't in the original. In that one, the earthquake just happened. I think it's really cool they added that. And don't worry, you saved the woman. You're a good guy in this scenario. Even though you started the earthquake. A lot of the cutscenes are really silly. I had a lot of fun with them. They are admittedly held back by occasionally stiff NPC animations and a lack of lip sync. I don't know why they skimped on the lip sync. Is it because there would be multiple languages to animate for? In that case, even just having simple would be better than nothing. For some reason, a handful of cutscenes also do this weird thing where they become letterboxed from the sides. I think it's trying to mimic a 4:3 aspect ratio like Tony Hawk 3 and 4 would have been, but two things. One, it's not proper 4:3. They just shove some bars on the side which aren't even the right size to make 4:3. And two, this looks like garbage. I'm actually willing to believe that this is just some kind of weird glitch and isn't meant to happen at all, which is why it only triggers for some cutscenes. I think 3+4 nailed the number of collectibles per level. With 1+2, all there was to collect in each level was 2 to 4 stat points and the Vicarious Visions logo. The cash collectibles from Pro Skater 2 didn't return. So, not much to find. 3+4 rectifies this by adding a handful of cash collectibles in each level as well as a hidden deck. So we've gone from around 3 to 5 collectibles to 10 to 12. The cash collectibles were also in Pro Skater 4, but they were like 50 per level, it was a bit much, and some were pretty hard to reach. I'm glad they've reduced it to a bit more of a reasonable number combined with stat points and such, especially if set custom restart wasn't returning. When I talked about 1+2 in my Tony Hawk 5 video, I mentioned how one of the weaker points of that game was its Create a Park mode, even compared to Pro Skater 5's take on it. Your options were pretty limited, and you couldn't create any goals in your parks. Plus, it tended to be fairly buggy, even with simple geometry. Luckily, Create a Park was one of the things Iron Galaxy improved from Vicarious Visions' work on 1+2. Nearly all of my gripes from that version of Create a Park have been resolved here. There are a multitude of new settings to choose for the background for some more variety, a whole new suite of ramps and such have been added for more unique builds, and the big one, Create-A-Goal's back. You can put down skate letters, combo letters, objects to collect, objects to destroy, secret tapes, and high scores, and it adds so much to parks, giving you much more of a reason to play other people's parks. There's even a clear rate marker on each shared park to show how many people have completed all the goals, a la Super Mario Maker. Speaking of shared parks, crossplay applies to them now, which is a huge upgrade. With 1+2, parks were locked to what platform they were created on, which was a huge shame. If you found a cool park online, there would be a decent chance you wouldn't be able to play it. So like, for example, if someone made a park on the PS4 version and you were on Nintendo Switch, you were out of luck. That's not a problem anymore. You can also put NPCs in your park now, which makes them feel a lot more alive. You can even put down aggressive NPCs which punch you off your board if you get too close. And would you believe it, there's still more to Create a Park. Remember how Pinball had those speed boost pads exclusive to it? Well, you can put those down as well, alongside boost ramps and quarter pipes. This is like everything 1+2 needed for its Create a Park to be truly fantastic. There are also music notes. This is, dare I say, the best Tony Hawk Create a Park to date. Of course, we've had things like Create a Goal before, but having the ability to share them online and within a Create a Park with much easier to use tools, their purpose is really boosted. I may consider this to be the best Create a Park, but like anything, it has some shortcomings. Like I mentioned at some point earlier, you can't put gaps in a park, which is weird. I mean, that's something you could do in Pro Skater 3. You also can't put water or lava in a level, which would have been nice for some more visual variety and level hazards. And also, you could do it in Pro Skater 3. And like 1+2's Park Creator, things can get pretty buggy. You couldn't do that in Pro Skater 3, that park editor wasn't buggy at all. I made a level called The Zoo, not to be confused with Zoo, you know, the bad one. See, I held all these people captive in a cage surrounded by spike pits so they'd be forced to watch me shred. I'm sure they're grateful. If you want to play it, I uploaded it, so here you go. Good luck beating the score goal. While I'm on the topic of online content, I might as well go over multiplayer. Multiplayer in 1+2 was okay. I don't think it was hideous per se, but it definitely left a lot to be desired. There were only a handful of modes, those being score and combo challenges, graffiti, combo mambo, and trick attack. Fine modes, but they were definitely missing a lot of classic ones, and also there wasn't even a multiplayer ranking system. There's also no server browsing, voice or text chat, or spectating. It's missing a lot. Same as 3+4 is shocking this many people. The only changes to multiplayer are the addition of voice chat, no text chat, free skate, and crossplay. These are good changes, of course. I mean, I'm not going to flame Iron Galaxy for adding crossplay, but massive missed opportunity. You ever play King of the Hill? It's like Shine Thief from Mario Kart, but with skateboards, and it's awesome. It was introduced in 3 and it was pretty popular, so once again, not having it here makes the multiplayer feel emptier. You may have noticed my footage for multiplayer looks a lot choppier than the rest of my footage, and that's not a fault of my own. For some reason, on the PS4 version of 3+4, the frame rate in multiplayer gets halved, and to go with it, there's a considerable amount of input lag. Keeping in mind that 1+2's multiplayer was smooth as butter, holding 60 FPS with no input lag, and that 3+4 is pretty much 1+2 copy-pasted with new levels, I feel like that really shouldn't be the case for the PS4 version. I understand that the game was probably developed with 9th gen hardware in mind, but the fact is, it should be possible to have multiplayer without those issues on PS4. You really need 60 frames per second and instant input response for a game like Tony Hawk, where you have to make split-second decisions and movements. Makes multiplayer a lot less fun to not have that. It's far from unplayable, but I'm hoping the PS4 version receives some of the patches it needs, alongside the Switch 2 version, which supposedly has been crashing a bit. There's only one exception to online multiplayer being borderline identical to 1+2's, and that's the new mode, Hawk Mode. How it works is you place 4 letters, H-A-W-K, around a level. After each player is done laying down their hawk, the match starts, and you gotta find as many letters as you can. The problem I have with this mode is that it was marketed as a super new and exciting thing, when, in fact, there's been a mode called Scavenger Hunt in previous games, which is pretty much just this, but with more than 4 collectibles per player. This mode is alright. It's nothing I'm clamoring to play again, but I guess it's worth a look from time to time. Something I haven't seen anyone mention about 3+4 is its price point. $50, 10 more than that of 1+2. And honestly, I think that's a pretty good price for what you get. The game has a decent amount of content, more than 1+2. Plus, hey, in the day of AAA games costing $60, $70, or now even $80, having a game that isn't full price is nice. Digital Deluxe being $70 is stretching it, but keep in mind Activision games go on sale pretty regularly. 1+2 goes on sale for half price like every other week. If you're not sure you want to get the game or not, just give it a month or two. You'll get a chance to scoop it up at a good price. Let's look at these two games in a vacuum. This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and this is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. When you look at the games like this, 3+4 is definitely the overall better game. It has more content than 1+2, more engaging and interesting missions as well. But looking at them outside the vacuum, as remakes, yeah, 1+2 is hands down the better remake. It has practically all of the content from the original games while introducing elements from later ones to make the gameplay more interesting. 3+4 basically just takes 1+2, adds new levels and a couple of small things and calls it a day. It's a far less faithful remake than 1+2. The Tony Hawk 3 side is way stronger because that game actually did use the 2-minute format originally. And while the 2 minutes admittedly function for Pro Skater 4's campaign, what could have been, dude? Not to mention the soundtrack is missing countless tracks from the original playlists, and the replacements are very hit or miss. And a lot of the issues from 1+2 are still present here, like the lackluster Create Skater and multiplayer. And yet, I'm still having a great time. This is pretty mediocre as a remake, but as a game on its own, as a game I can sit down and play in the moment, forgive me for sounding like a gaming news outlet, the Tony Hawk gameplay remains addictive. I'm always having a great time grinding and flipping through levels. The graphics are pristine and the levels themselves have been, mostly, beautifully translated to modern graphics. The ridiculous cutscenes made me smile multiple times over. This is no Pro Skater HD or Pro Skater 5 situation. I feel Iron Galaxy wanted to make an at least somewhat faithful game. As a remake, it's like a 6.5. As a game on its own, it's a 9. Putting the two together, I'd say it's an 8. A lot of people are hoping that this game leads into an Underground 1+2 remake, but personally, I'm not holding my breath. I kinda hope it doesn't happen if I'm being honest. The goal formats of Underground 1 and 2 are much similar compared to that of 3 and 4, but Underground 2 still has its fair share of differences, and considering Iron Galaxy's method of making the ultimate package of both games the first time around, I'm not entirely sure I want Iron Galaxy to tackle another Tony Hawk remake. Plus, both games have more humor that's considered taboo by modern standards, especially Underground 2. If they remade the games, they would change too many things and upset too many people. TLDR, don't get your hopes up for an Underground 1+2, since it's either not going to happen or not be faithful to the originals. I'm also not counting on 3+4 getting any substantial post-launch content. 1+2 really didn't, and I don't see any potential for DLC for 3+4. I doubt they would remake the true THPS 4 careers DLC, and they probably won't make an original soundtrack DLC considering the cost for licensing music. I doubt enough people would buy that for them to make back their investment. I think it's time for a new Tony Hawk game. How long do we want to stay in this nostalgia remake era? And I think Tony Hawk's found its new developer. Iron Galaxy is an independent studio, so it can't be merged by Activision. Given that 3+4 has been pretty successful sales-wise, I don't doubt Activision will come back to them and commission them for more Pro Skater games. Well, a lot of 3+4's groundwork was already laid by Vicarious Visions, and Iron Galaxy may just be building off of it. I really do trust them with the series going forwards. Just no more remakes. 2 out of the 3 original levels they did for 3+4 were pretty good. There's clearly level designers with some good ideas over there. My one big hope for a hypothetical new game would be that it fully ditched the 2-minute format, but not in the form of disconnected levels, something with the Underground Onwards formula, with a story, with cutscenes. That, I do have some hope for. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. I doubt we'll see another Tony Hawk game until at least 2027, 2028, only time will tell. Sadly, it seems a good chunk of the 3+4 team has been laid off. Perhaps that's to be expected when a studio that's largely commissioned by other studios doesn't have much to do. I suppose it's possible they could be rehired for a hypothetical new game though. Or I could be completely wrong, who knows. And now we wait for Activision to acquire Iron Galaxy Studios and promptly shut them down.